Folks, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here. Welcome to the desert. We are back in Total War Rome 2. Hope you all are excited. We've got Sparta. Isn't it always a good day when we see Sparta on the battlefield? I don't know. It's a tough day for the Spartan player, especially since they're up against the Arverni, who I would say are totally capable of taking Sparta out. As with most Greece factions, Sparta is not amongst the strongest in the game. They do have some redeeming qualities, though. Let's go take a look at their army. We got some Gorgo skirmishers up front. Gorgo skirmishers have pretty decent damage and range, fairly capable. And then we're going to have some Perioikoi spears behind them, just kind of making up a cheap main line. They are going to be backed up by Royal Spartans. And let's see here, yeah, Royal Spartans, Heroes of Sparta, Royal Spartans. That is a significant hoplite line. It's a very expensive hoplite line. The things to note about this line is that Royal Spartans, Heroes of Sparta all have actually pretty high attack. The Heroes of Sparta get the 29 damage spear, which is not great, but the Heroes of Sparta get the full 30 damage spear, which comes with 8 AP, which is pretty significant. If they can absorb the mainline charge with the Perioikoi spears and then grind the Gauls out with the rest of the Spartans, that is how Sparta is going to potentially find a path to victory. The skirmisher cavalry could be really important here too. By way of skirmisher cavalry, this is some pretty crap skirmisher cavalry. A lot of those actually have 41 missile damage, and I think the standard's like 30-something. So these are some really bad skirmisher cavalry by all accounts, but that heavy horse is certainly not going to like this. It looks like this one was moving to try and entrap them. A nice potential grab by the Gauls, and then the Arverni. It's habit from Rome 1, folks. So they do not want to be doing this. These horse skirmishers are not what they should be going after. Use the levy freemen to run them off. Looks like the Arverni general's out there on a noble horse. There are 2 more heavy horse on the other flank, so that is 5 heavy horse here against Sparta. And then we're going to see levy freemen over here as well. A front line of chosen swords. These are decently capable swordsmen. However, I don't know, like, I'm putting my money on those elite Spartans against them. There are some Celtic warriors, very light swordsmen. We only have 1 Oathsworn, and that is surprising for me to see 1 Oathsworn brought against Sparta. I would have potentially thought we would see more than that, because Sparta doesn't really have great answers to the Oathsworn, as long as the Oathsworn just stay clear of being, you know, picked apart by slingers, which I would think that the Arverni are capable of stopping that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out. The Arverni don't have all the sword power they normally do, and they are a little bit over-indexed on cavalry, in my opinion, considering that they're coming up against Sparta. Sparta really only has citizen cavalry, and citizen cavalry is terrible. Really nice support here by the Perioikoi spears to keep that citizen cavalry alive against the heavy horse. And I mean, they've already taken some losses there. Now the Gorgo skirmishers are going to give the Sparta a pretty handy ranged advantage here, and they could potentially pick at that only single Oathsworn there. And honestly, if they pick that Oathsworn off, the Arverni are going to be in a world of hurt real fast in this fight, I think, because it is not going to be easy to grind down these Spartans in melee, and the Arverni have chosen melee. Now, one way they could do so is gain the cavalry supremacy with enough of their heavy horse left that when their swords are engaging, they can rear charge the Spartans to death. But rear charging Spartans to death with cavalry does come with a cost, because they are still heavy infantry armed with a spear, and it would be easier to pick at them from range. Now, the Arverni are not prolific skirmishers. They do have access, however, to Celtic slingers, which are a very nice, cheap way to contend with the range of a Greek faction, which would otherwise be better in almost every respect than a barbarian faction. So Celtic slingers, I think, are a pick that should have been made here, and it's interesting to see the general here in a noble horse. I would have expected to see an Oathsworn general for the Arverni. Now, it is possible that Sparta plays a skirmishy type of game sometimes, and it is possible that this Arverni army was built to come against a skirmishy Spartan army. And the reason I say that is because with 5 horsemen, that is like a supreme statement of, I want the control of movement. That is definitely the Arverni player saying, I want to control the movement around the battlefield. So, and if that's being the case, I can only imagine it's because they were scared of potential Spartan skirmishers. Interesting, a Gallic hunter here coming into view. There could be more, there is. So Gallic hunters could provide some really nice range here, but they initially get slapped in the face with a volley of javelins from those horse skirmishers. That is not the way they want to start things. Gallic hunters are expensive, They're capable units. They have stock, obviously, which is what allowed them to get up to this point. They're going to start trading shots into the Gorgo skirmishers. I don't know if they have snipe. Yeah, they do. They can snipe. So they have stock and snipe. A very interesting unit. So the Spartans are going to have to put eyes on those skirmishers, or else the Arverni are going to really put them in a world of hurt. What a turn of events. I did not see that coming. Literally. Because they were invisible. So the Gallic Hunters are going to absolutely shred these Gorgo skirmishers if they don't quickly adjust and get eyes on the snipe-capable Gallic Hunters. So I don't know how in the world a Gallic Hunter can disappear into the cracked and parched desert sand, but whatever druidic magic is allowing this, I'm here for it, and dang, that's cool. So yeah, Sparta is getting shredded. Absolutely shredded. Man, I had no idea when I turned on this video I was going to get to see some really nice Gallic Hunter action here. I'm here for it. Now we got some heavy horse pressure here coming in from the Arverni. Perioikoi spears, I believe, have javelins. I could be wrong. I don't remember for sure. So we'll see whether or not they start to discharge javelins there, but still, we're seeing Sparta use its weaker front line to absorb this. But now the problem is those Gorgo skirmishers got absolutely flattened by the Gallic Hunters, and we're going to see a pretty serious problem now for Sparta as they are forced to come into all that fire. Now, Sparta did finally get eyes on the Gallic Hunters, but it's too late. Dang, man, those Gallic Hunters are shredding. They are really pouring on the heat here. This one just became visible. It's going to back up. So some of the Gorgo skirmishers are back from routing. There's still some Perioikoi peltas that may be able to do some screening for the Spartan army, but right now they're remaining on the flanks, and that's probably a good place for them. They could become very nice cavalry support for the very poor citizen cavalry. At this point, it looks like Sparta is kind of just willing to let those Gallic Hunters use their ammunition on the Perioikoi spears, and that may be an appropriate choice, all said. We'll see. Good shield or not, I mean, you're going to take some damage from that amount of fire from Gallic Hunters. Let's see what Sparta does. They are pushing forward. They're bringing their elite hoplites to bear. The danger of this is that it could bring the elite hoplites into range of these Gallic Hunters as well, and I don't think Sparta's going to have a lot of ways to get into the back line of the Arverni because of the extensive presence of heavy horse on the battlefield. So I kind of now better understand the Arverni army now that I've seen these Gallic Hunters. They wanted to protect these Gallic Hunters at near all cost. So I was kind of under the impression that the Arverni must have had some reason, and those three Gallic Hunters, in my opinion, are probably the reason why we see this interesting army. So the Perioikoi spearmen are absorbing the javelins off of the chosen swords. That's appropriate. It doesn't appear that the Perioikoi spears are javelin armed units, or else they would be also throwing it in. I may be thinking of a different unit. I think the Spartans do have a javelin armed spear unit. I don't recall the name of it right offhand. Well, these skirmisher cavalry are doing a really nice job, actually, at the moment. Those Gorgo skirmishers are back up, and now they're picking at a chosen sword unit. Let's see if the Gallic Hunters are going to come after them. I think they will. The Gallic Hunters... No, they're out of ammunition already, so they're being used to charge. Interesting. Not sure I would have done that charge so YOLO so early, because I don't think that's going to do any good for the power bar. The Gallic Hunters expended their ammunition very quickly. Did a lot of damage. Without any more ammunition on the Gallic Hunters, I would say at this point that this is going to be a difficult battle, I think, for the Arverni. Their cavalry are going to be the key now. I really like the damage they did with the Gallic Hunters. I don't remember how much they cost, though, and I don't know whether it's going to end up being worth it. I'm going to see the heavy horse screaming into the rear, getting into those Gorgo skirmishers. That is unfortunate for Sparta. Anything would help at this point. So we've got the Perioikoi spears kind of, again, absorbing that front line. I'd probably like to go ahead and see the Spartans engaged before the Arverni cut through that front line and get a secondary charge. So see, like right here, these Royal Spartans are going to have to just go dead on into the charge of all the Arverni, and that's not ideal. But that is a tough unit, and we'll see what they can do. Elsewhere, it looks like the Spartans are going to get clean charges through their own Perioikoi spears into The Gallic army over here at Royal Spartan is holding up the flank and doing quite well at it. It's already got 109 kills. So can the Arverni break the Spartan warriors with their cavalry? That becomes the question now. The horse skirmishers are likely almost out of ammunition. And that leaves a noble horse here, which is free to operate, and it is going to put down a painful charge here, right into the back of this Royal Spartan unit. That is definitely going to leave a mark. That said, these are extremely well armored, very tough, high morale units, and they're probably winning the melee, which is going to make it difficult for the Gauls to move them. The only one they're probably losing the melee is this hero Sparta up against the Oathsworn. That's probably not going to go well against the Oathsworn. Does have the AP necessary to kind of grind with those Royal Spartans. The rest of these Gallic units do not, though. I think they have the AP in the Oathsworn, like enough of it. Actually, very little. Never mind. That's a chosen sword. Let's get the Oathsworn up in here. It's only 5. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the Arverni are going to have a tough time grinding out this armor. Their cavalry is going to have to do it. And look at this, the citizen cavalry now pinning the noble horse into that fight. A fight which includes heavy spears. So that's not going to be ideal for the noble horse. Now, I don't think they're going to die immediately because they're not mixed up and right in the middle of that Royal Spartan. Let's see here. So yeah, Sparta doing its thing. It's kind of doing almost a Roman type fight here, just kind of grinding out their enemies. And like I said, these Spartan hoplites, by way of hoplites, are very powerful. They are not invincible though, like the movie 300 would have us believe, but they are very powerful. Let's see, that noble horse is now free from that fight where it had been quote-unquote pinned down, as I said earlier. And it's going to continue to make its will felt on the battlefield as it crushes through the remains of those horse skirmishers. There's a Celtic warrior now supporting. The Arverni definitely want to get behind the Spartans, but unfortunately for the Arverni, this flank is collapsing, and that's going to leave Spartan reinforcements an opportunity to protect the rear of this fight in the middle. And there's going to be just enough time bought for that army by these Gorgo skirmishers and skirmish cavalry that it is going to allow for that. So the rear charges are going to be difficult to come by now for the Arverni, and I do not see any of the other heavy horse except for one back here. I don't know if it's being held in reserve on purpose or if it was forgotten. That 230 kills plus. And then, yeah, the Spartans are going to intercept out here the Celtic warriors. And it looks like for the time being, this Royal Spartan is outflanking the infantry, trying to free up another fight. Obviously of concern for the Spartans, this hero of Sparta needs to hold for as long as possible. It is really struggling to grind out 2 chosen swords and an Oathsworn, but is putting up an impressive performance nonetheless, with 80 kills and holding out for a very long time. So this is actually a pretty close fight. The Arverni have the edge according to the power bar. It's really going to depend on whether this cavalry can get rid of these Royal Spartans. They did put a really decent charge on them there, and even despite that charge, we are seeing a number of Royal Spartans fall, but when they turn around and start digging into that cavalry with that 8 armor-piercing spear and the bonus versus large, that cavalry is going to start losing hit points pretty quickly. So I don't know how many of those charges the cavalry can deliver before the Spartans kind of start shredding them. So that is a surround here. So this hero of Sparta is kind of giving way. That noble cavalry fights its way through. It's got 290 kills. It's done an incredible amount of work so far. We've got a Royal Spartan at 92. We've got another Royal Spartan at 147. And it's going to be the object of affection for the noble horse next. It was in a hoplite wall. It got hit from behind. The hoplite wall, though, does improve bracing, but I don't think any bracing applies from the rear, but that was not a particularly effective charge for the noble horse. And they are really going to be feeling the hurt of this. That is a full-on bonus versus large, just ripping through that noble horse right there. The Oathsworn got charged by the hero of Sparta general, and the charge on the Spartans is actually pretty high. Almost as high as the Barbarians, so the Spartan hoplites do, like the elite ones at least, put off a pretty solid charge. And so the Oathsworn are feeling the heat for that. And with these other engagements potentially cleaning up, there's a chosen sword here still fighting a Royal Spartan, and it does outnumber them by a fair bit. This Spartan, though, just cleaned up its fight on the flank. And that noble horse now is significantly depleted. It's going to be looking for more rear charges. Right now it's going for this one, which has the tougher fight. And that Spartan turned around to face them. And it did look like that kind of blunted some of the cavalry charge. I mean, by looks. I don't know if I can prove anything by numbers there, but that hero of Sparta is totally holding off the Oathsworn right now as well. And I would say the Arverni are in some pretty serious crap now. This noble horse was, I assume, forgotten about because it's now being moved, so I don't think it was a glitch. And that noble horse was badly needed earlier. I don't think the Arverni are going to be able to pull their way out of this because their general's about to croak, and when he does, these other units are not going to like that. The Oathsworn are now losing decisively in melee because of being outnumbered. And this heavy horse charge is going to be too little, too late, as the red-clad Spartan warriors are going to just brute force their way through these barbarians while screaming, "This is Sparta." No doubt, right? Any surviving Arverni will be returned to the city of Sparta, where they will be summarily kicked into a near-bottomless pit that resides in the middle of town for no apparent reason other than to kick your enemies into in a really cool and cinematic way, which we all know was definitely a historical accuracy about Sparta. You should go look it up. You'll find that I can't possibly lie. A brutal grind out here at the end. These Oathsworn are fighting like crazy, but yeah, the original oath of the Spartans was that come home with the shield or upon it. I think it's going to overcome the Oathsworn here. Really cool to see Sparta just kind of brute force their way out of a situation. When it comes to hoplites, Sparta really does probably have the best. They are really good, Royal Spartans, Heroes of Sparta. They're just very expensive. Again, I still feel like hoplites are kind of misfunctioning in this game. They're more of an anti-cavalry, anti-charge thing, and I just don't think that's what hoplites really were in real life. I think they were a mainline infantry unit and tended to go head-to-head, even with armies that had swords. So I feel like they got a little bit misrepresented in this game. However, in this case, they did extremely well, and the elite hoplites here did some serious killing. Look at this one here, this Royal Spartan, 423 kills on an infantry unit is obscene. That is huge. So a really nice performance out of the Spartans here, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this one from Hotel Soap. It's not often we get to see Sparta come out and just kind of bully their way through. Now I have to say here to Clope, or I just call him Clope, who played the Arverni, I loved the play with the Gallic Hunters. It did not end up working out entirely here, but that was a really cool play, and to see those Gorgo skirmishers melt to a unit sniping them was awesome. And some really cool play, and again, that made the heavy horse make sense to me. Now, if that one heavy horse had been active, it is maybe possible that the Arverni could have turned around a couple of those fights a little quicker and pulled themselves out of this one alive. An epic performance by the noble horse there with 321 kills, so that was also very well done. So interesting fight indeed. Hope you all enjoyed this one. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll see you all soon with some more action in Total War Rome 2.